Hello, hello. I'm Samaya, and on this channel, we binge film, TV shows, and books, and then yap about them. Welcome to the first video for my Oscar series. I'm so excited to get the series started. I literally was making up a plan, looking at all the movies we're gonna be watching the series, and I'm just so excited. I just feel like this is gonna be a super fun thing. In this series, we'll be covering and analyzing every single Best Picture winner in Oscar history. And we'll be doing what the judges apparently weren't doing. We will be watching every single nominated movie as well in the Best Picture category. And then we'll be deciding, did the winner really deserve to win? Once again, this is for those who are just interested in a career in film. So if you want to be an actress, a screenwriter, filmmaker, or even the accountant for film, or hey, you just want to watch more movies, join us, join this series, and let's watch all these movies together. Today, we'll be covering the first Best Picture winner, Weems. Also, fun fact, when I was doing my research, I found out that apparently the Best Motion Picture category was originally called Outstanding Motion Picture. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll also be covering the two other movies that were nominated in this category. For some reason, for the first award ceremony, there were only 3 nominees for Outstanding Motion Picture. So, hey, that made this week easier for me because, guys, we're going to be watching a lot of movies. You will see. It's going to be fun, but it's going to take days to watch all those movies. But I'm just ready and excited. The first award ceremony only had 3 movies nominated for the Best Picture category, and they had to be from August 1st, 1927 to August 1st, 1928. So once again, we'll be discussing the winner mostly, but we'll also, talk about the nominees because there's one in particular that deserves to be talked about, and I loved it, but we'll get to that in a second. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about my voting system that I came up with. When I was doing my research, guys, they do not have any strict requirements for voting. There's no scoring rubric. It's literally based on just how that person feels. They don't even have to watch all the movies in the category. And you can honestly just vote if a friend of yours was in it and you want that to be the winner. It was just very interesting to read about the lack of structure for the voting, but at the same time, thinking about it, it makes sense because how would you be able to hold over 10,000 members accountable for watching the entire movie? Or how would you be able to hold them accountable for voting based off of a rubric that was provided? So I get it. But for this series purpose, I wanted to come up with a voting system. I found this rubric online. I'm going to insert it right here so you guys can see. It is divided into 5 categories, and you can rate those categories from 1 to 5. 5 being the best, and 1 being right after I watch the movie, I'm going to write down what my rating was for that movie in each category. And then I'll add it up, divide that number by 5 in order to get a 5-star rating. My reasoning for wanting a rubric, just so I could root my opinions in something tangible. And also it'll make me rethink what I truly want to rate that movie. Overall, it's a good tool to have if you're going to be critiquing the movie. So before we get into the 1929 winner, I'm going to quickly be talking about the other nominees and whether they're worth watching. But if you only want to hear about the winner, feel free to fast forward. It's okay. I'll put the timestamp here when we start talking about the winner. Okay, so the first nominee we'll be talking about is The Racket. If I'm being so honest, I did not like this movie, but let me go ahead and explain what this movie's about. The Racket was released in 1928, starring Thomas Megan as Captain James, Louis Wilhelm as Nick Scarcy, and Marie Prevost as Helen Hayes. It was directed by Louis Milestone and released by the Caddo Company. movie. The genre it falls under is crime and drama. And the movie is basically about a renegade police captain sets out to catch a sadistic mob boss. So for the literary element, I rated this movie a 3. For the directing element, I rated this movie a 2. For the visual element or the cinematography, I rated it a 2. For the editing element, I rated it a 2. And the sound element, I rated it a 2. Overall, technically I rated it 2.2 stars, but I truly just wanted to give it 1 star. I'm sorry guys, I really did not like this movie. Some of the reasons why I didn't like this movie: the music was very distracting to me. It was just random music. I'm not even kidding. To be honest, this was my first time watching silent films, so I'm not entirely familiar with how they go about music selection and all that jazz. But compared to the other 2 movies that were nominated in this category, the music in this movie just felt utterly random. It was like short clips of so many songs, and most of them did not even fit the vibe that was going on. I also thought there was no realism for violence. Whoa. Before you come at me, be like, Samaya, it's the 1920s. Yeah, it's not realistic. There's no CGI. Yeah, I'm aware. But hey, once again, compared to the other movies in this category, if you watch all 3, you'll be like, oh my gosh, did they even try to portray violence in this movie? It was so obvious that you have like the guy's back facing the camera and then you have the actor go. There was no violence. When they killed the guy at the end, spoiler alert, I don't care. They killed the guy at the end with the gunshot wound. There was not even a hole in his suit. I was like, oh my god, be so for real. The other movies were still able to successfully portray violence with blood, and the blocking was so well done. It looked realistic. Maybe they actually did hit each other, who knows? Because back then they were doing some crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff for the art. They also failed to establish the character, in my opinion. There were a lot of characters in this film, and since once again it's a silent film, instead of like dialogue, they would use title cards, which is basically where they put the words on the screen. I just can't recall understanding the title cards, first of all. Also, the character introductions weren't well done. The title cards introduced the characters' names and character traits, but there was a disconnect from the visual aspect of that. They would describe the character, but then like it wouldn't really be backed up by the visual aspect or the character's actions in the story. Also, the title cards were just so random and far in between, which is poorly done. So this is something that they taught us as writers at NYU, and this is also something that every filmmaker, writer should be aware of. There's this rule where you kind of have to establish the why the audience should care about your story really early on. It was never established for this film. I was just like, what are we fighting for? Who are we rooting for? Who are we rooting against? And why? And why should I be sat for this movie for an hour and a half? It was just never done. Because once again, the title cards were really bad. Finally, this is very kind of controversial, and I'm sorry if you're a film bro watching my channel, because what I'm about to say is probably gonna trigger you. I don't care. This movie, it was definitely for men. And this is probably gonna be a theme I'm gonna have throughout my videos, because this is actually one of my biggest pet peeves with film and the film industry. This one in particular was a good example of a movie for men, because it was just about men and their egos. It was just not interesting to watch as a woman. Would I recommend this movie? No. But if mob stories are your thing and you love a good mob story, I suppose you could watch this movie. You might find more substance in it than I did. However, like objectively, I don't think this is a good example of a mob movie. Seventh Heaven. Okay, guys, as you're gonna tell, I'm cheesing because I really like this movie. Seventh Heaven was released in 1927, starring Janet Gaynor as Diane and Charles Farrell as Chico. It was directed by Frank Borzage and released by Fox. The genre. Hey, guys! So, you know how in my first video my mic died and I didn't notice? Yeah, I didn't know you were supposed to charge them I don't even know where my logic was with that. I didn't charge my microphones for that video either, and it died as well. Anyway, guys, I'm obviously filming this on a different day, but let's get back into it. So this beautiful film follows Diane, a young, poor woman living with her sister in Paris. After experiencing intense abuse from her sister, she was literally almost strangled to death on the street by her sister. She ends up on the streets where she meets a sewer worker named Chico. Chico saves Diane from her criminal fate by pretending to be her husband, and he offers Diane to stay at his place, where the two fall in love, only for the war to tear them apart. Guys, I'm already telling you now, I'm kind of biased in how I rated this because I really enjoyed this movie. I'm a sucker for romance. How I rated it was literary element, a 5. Directing element, a 5. Visual element, a 5. Editing element, a 5. Sound element, a 4. So the final rating that I gave it was 24. So dividing that by 5, 4.8. But let's just say 4.5 stars. So like I said, I'm a sucker for romance. It is my favorite genre. I like hopecore. What can I say? I like watching happy endings, or I just also like to watch the complications of romance as well. And low-key, in a way, this movie was the OG, oh, let's pretend we're married trope. And it was just so freaking cute. There was a line in there that, like, oh my god, if a guy said this to me, ring. Also ignore my nail. The gel came off the other day at work and I was just like, my nails are overgrown anyway. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Anyone out there in the comments who also has like nails that grow too long, too fast, please comment, because I need to know I'm not alone. I feel like I have to go get my nails done every 2 weeks for it to actually look good. Believe it or not, this is 2 weeks worth of growth. Ta-da. See that? It looks like it's hanging off. A girl can only afford nails nowadays to get them done every month. Why is a French $70? Sometimes $100. I'm like, I didn't realize it should be $30 for you to just draw a line on the tip of my nail. Sorry, that was a long tangent. Back to the movie. So the guy, he said this line, "Let me fill my eyes with you." Oh my god, how romantic. Romance is really dead nowadays because the most romantic thing a guy would say now, 1 is gaslighting, and 2, it's like type. Please, can we bring back poets? Can we bring back men who actually care to get to know you and not think that the other side is greener just because they have access to social media and they can see every baddie under the sun in the world and they think they can secure said baddie, but they definitely do not have a chance with her? Sorry, guys. I just... Let me collect myself. Anyways, shout out to the costume people. I always love watching old movies and looking at the costumes. Like, that's one of my favorite parts of these older movies because the costumes are so beautiful. Diane's wedding dress, just wow. Like, it's gorgeous. I do want to take a moment to talk about the evil sister. The evil sister was a drug addict. I was not expecting this to be portrayed in such an old movie, but I mean, I guess maybe they did portray this kind of stuff more than I thought. I really did love this movie, but I do have a couple critiques. I did not like how roughly Chico treated Diane at the beginning of the film, but that low-key could be because of the time period. Even nowadays, like when you were a kid, they were like, oh, he's pushing you because he likes you. Oh, you're bleeding from your knee and he pushed you off of monkey bars because he likes you. Sorry, guys, I spoke from experience there. I guess it was considered romantic for the time where it's like, oh, he's so mean to her because he's fighting his real feelings for her. Being rude is being rude. It's giving TJ from Love Island. I can't let that show go. I'm trying, I swear. After I was done watching the movie, I was scrolling on Letterboxd, and yes, I am a Letterboxd girly. Sorry, sue me. Sorry. I love Letterboxd. I came across this beautiful review about the movie that I really wanted to share with you guys. Shout out to M for her well-written review. Let's read it. M said she offered him tenderness. He offered her courage. Together, they learned how to walk together, how to see together. Their love was so strong and united them even when they were apart. Time is a thief. There is so much beauty in opening your heart to someone else and sharing a paradise with them, finding comfort and fantasy in each other. Girl, write a romance novel right now. This is just so beautifully written. I could not have said it better myself. This is exactly how I felt about the film. Would I recommend this movie? Yes. Okay, are you guys ready? It is time to talk about the first Academy Award Best Picture winner, Wings. Wings is a drama and romance film that was released in 1927, starring Clara Bow as Mary Preston, Charles Buddy Rogers as Jack Powell, and Richard Arlen as David Armstrong. It was directed by William A. Wellman and released by Paramount. And it was the only silent film in Oscar history to have won the Best Picture. The film opens with Jack Powell looking up at the sky, hands behind his head, daydreaming of being a pilot. He snaps out of his daydream to work on his car, only to be interrupted by his neighbor, Mary Preston, who is hopelessly in love with him. Jack finishes his car and excitedly goes to the girl he loves. Hint: it's not Mary. Jack drives to meet a city cool girl named Sylvie. She's swinging with the rich heartthrob David, singing him a song as she coolly strums her guitar, staring in each other's eyes, obviously in love. But Jack pops up and ruins the moment and steals Sylvie for a drive. She just couldn't say no to him, which is a reoccurring theme in her character. Jack decides to enlist in the army that is dispatching to Paris. Sylvie is creating a locket with her picture, sealing her love for David on the back of it. But when Jack appears to say his goodbyes, he thinks the locket is for him because he's under the impression that the feeling is mutual. She lets him take the locket. David comes right after and leaves the army empty-handed, except for a tiny childhood bear that his mom gave to him. Which, side note, his mom, so scary, guys. Because Jack and David like the same girl, of course they're rivals and hate one another. And like men, they become friends after, you guessed it, a fist fight. With their twisted male logic, the pair become friends after making each other bleed. I guess they found respect for each other in the way that they fought because they fought each other honorably. I truly don't know. I don't get the male brain. The now friendly pair have their first pilot training day, and they are finally able to soar through the air, only that they and their squad are not alone. The enemy appears, and Jack and David are the only ones who survive the attack, becoming veterans or the go-to pilots for air attacks. After a long time fighting, Jack, David, and the soldiers are given discharges, or in other words, they are told to go home. To celebrate, most soldiers, particularly Jack, go to hotels to celebrate the release. However, this happy moment doesn't last long when the discharges are canceled and soldiers are told they must go to the front lines or they'll be punished. Mary, who was also enrolled in the army at this point as delivery person, she is at the hotel and overhears the news. She approaches the party area and comes across a very drunk Jack chatting it up with another girl. She runs over to him, fighting her excitement and jealousy, and tries to inform him about the discharge news. But Jack is way too drunk to listen and wants to have fun with the girl that he's with, you know? Mary leaves and goes to change out of her uniform into more flattering clothes like the girls at the party. She thinks it'll help Jack pick her over the other women, and it does help. Because, according to Jack, Mary appears more bubbly just because she changed into a sequin dress. They end up in a hotel room where Jack passes out on the bed. Mary puts up a changing divider and goes to change out of her outfit into her army uniform. But while she does so, two weirdo army officials burst in and watch her. It's like, leave. Bye. While they creepily observe her, they do notice her army uniform on the dressing divider, and they see Jack passed out on the bed also in an army uniform, and so they put two and two together. And it's not okay for two people of the opposite sex to be mingling in that way. So Mary is fired and sent home. Which, why wasn't Jack punished? Well, in a way he was, because he and David are sent back to the war and are put on the front lines. I guess I would want to be Mary in this situation and go home. The pilot pair are sent to fight the enemy in the air once more. Before they're sent, they get into an argument. David doesn't think he'll make it back alive, and so he tries to tell Jack to return his lucky bear to his mother. This upsets Jack, who tries to change the subject and lighten the mood by bragging about his lucky photo item from Sylvie loyalty and the mutual love they share. David silently listens, still holding the truth of who Sylvie actually loves. And so when Jack drops the photo from the locket and the love for David is clearly written on the back of the photo, David panics and doesn't want Jack to see, so he tears up the photo. Jack gets super upset, but the pair have to leave to fight in the sky. But Jack is too upset at David to even look at him. So Jack doesn't really look after David like he usually does during the attack, and David ends up falling behind enemy lines. Jack and the others believe him to be dead. So when David steals a plane from the enemy and attempts to fly back, he ends up killed by a bloodthirsty Jack, who, once he found out who he shot out of the sky, holds David until his last breath. Jack returns home a war hero and pays a visit to David's family to make amends. When he returns to his house, he comes to terms with his feelings for Mary, and the two share a kiss under the stars. That's Wings, guys! So I'm gonna go category by category and tell you guys how I ranked the movie in each category, but I'm gonna also do deep dives into why I ranked it that way, just because, this is the winner, so let's go into depth. For the literary element, I rated it a 4, mainly because of the women characters. I just felt like they didn't really have much depth to them except for pining after men. I would say, in a way, Mary's character kind of had some layers to her, but everything she did was to get closer to Jack. Same with Sylvie, she didn't really have any personality to her other than two men pining for her love. I do want to give a quick shout out to the comedic relief character though. He had me chuckling. He was hilarious. Basically, he was a foreign soldier who wanted to be American so bad. He got an American flag tattoo on his arm. He would shake his arm and the fat would jiggle, so it looked like the flag was waving. I don't know why. No matter how many times they showed that on camera, it made me laugh every time. I don't know. My humor is a little bit broken. So overall, I thought how specific each actor's body language was really well done. It was over exaggerated, but it wasn't like unnatural, especially compared to the other movies like The Racket. It felt unnatural. I didn't like watching The Racket at all. But this one, it felt more, I would say rooted. That's the word. Even though their body language was exaggerated, it was rooted. The scene at the end, I should not be smiling. This is about David's death scene. But I just want to say, the way Jack was holding David while he was dying, it was giving lovers. They were getting so close and they were just holding each other. And obviously, David's dying. Duh, he's going to be holding him. But it was like as if they were lovers type of holding. But you could really see how much they meant to each other at that point. And I don't know if this was improv, but Jack's actor actually did kiss the side of David's mouth. But David's actor, at the last minute, he moved his face over. So I don't know if Jack was going to go for a full kiss effect. But hey, they did kiss. Technically. Okay, moving on. For the directing element, I gave it a 4. For the directing element, I was really thinking about blocking. I loved how the scene where David was saying, I might not make it home, Jack talking about the picture, and then David ripping it up. I really liked how that scene was blocked. It was very captivating, and I was really hooked. Until this one part that kind of threw me out of it, just because I was like, oh, that was poorly edited. You can tell they got a separate paper and wrote the note as big as they could so that way the camera could capture it clearly. It was not edited well. It was a little bit funky looking. Visual element, I gave this one a 5. So just a little background, the two cameras that they used for filming this was the Ayemo and Akili. The Ayemo, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm not, guys. Let me Google it real quick. So the Ayemo camera was the first handheld 35mm motion picture camera. It was used to film the shots that were on the ground. The Akili camera was actually developed as a field camera to capture natural life, so it's best known for its fast shutter speed, which was pretty good at the time, and it was ideal for settings with lower light. The Akili was mainly used for the aerial shots, which I'm going to talk about later. That blew me. I do want to highlight some particular scenes. The swing shot with Sylvie and David. I thought it was really creative. It looked like they attached the camera to the swing itself. It was out enough to where you could see both of the characters, and the camera was swinging with the characters. So at first it was Sylvie and David swinging, and then when it came here, where you can see the background more, Jack appeared in the center. I love that. It clearly showed that Jack was trying to get in between these two lovers. I really liked how they introduced them. It was beautifully well done. Another shot that I do want to talk about, which you guys already knew was coming. If you're a film person, I'm pretty sure you talked about this shot a bunch of times. The hotel drinking shot. When the soldiers are told they could go home, they go and drink at the hotel, and Jack is sitting at one of the tables drinking with this girl and some other soldiers. The way they introduced that scene was so creative for its time, and it actually set the stage for a lot of dolly shots. So basically the camera slides through almost as if it's like floating, slides through from the entrance into the party room, slides in between like three couples, and then stops at Jack's table. The only thing is you could tell a little bit how it was done. There was this one couple in particular that made it so obvious they were moving out the way for the camera. That kind of took me out of it a little bit, but hey, like once again, this was one of the first shots like that, and it was really captivating, and it was a continuous shot. So the way it was done, the AMO camera was rigged to this special overhead crane that they created for the film. It was moved forward on like a railing on the ceiling. So actually, fun fact, Wellman, who was the director, didn't like the shot. He said that it was actually distracting. He found a lot of people would walk away from the movie wondering how he did that shot versus like the content of the movie. So he thought that shots like that actually took away from the story, and he actually never really did those shots again in any of his other films, which is an interesting take, I feel, because nowadays that's expected to have moving shots in the film, and is one of the easiest ways to get your audience immersed in the movie versus still shots. Okay, now we could talk about the aerial shots. Oh my gosh, guys, I was so shook when I watched this movie, and I was like, how did they do that? How did they do that? They were flying actual planes. They had 300 pilots involved, most of them from the US Army Air Corps. They filmed, provided assistance, and supervised because, get this, all my actor friends out there, you're gonna be shook. The main actors flew their own planes.
Are you serious?
The canes were rigged to the plane. It was strapped to the engine cowling. And don't ask me what that is. That took a lot of concentration, I'm assuming, to be able to act, but also like flying a plane and make sure you're safe, because they were high above the clouds, guys. Like, these weren't just like 10 feet in the air shots. No, they were literally over the clouds. Green screens and CGI did not exist back then, so everything was actually done. Moving on, for the editing element, I gave this movie a 4. The editing was okay. I mean, there was just nothing really special about it. Sound element, I rated it a 4. For this silent film, they had the same song playing the entire time, which is actually named after the film, and it was composed by, I'm not even going to try to say their names, I'm just going to put their names on the screen. I thought the title cards were easy to follow, and the background of them were fitting for the flow of the story, and they weren't distracting from the words. The final rating that I give this movie is 4 stars. My general thoughts are, I liked it in a way. I'm not really into war movies, but this one was really captivating in its story, and like Seventh Heaven, it also made me tear up. Would I recommend this movie? Yes, but I personally would say it's a movie you watch once and that's it. Let's answer the question, guys. Did Wings deserve the winning title? In my objective opinion, yes. But subjectively, Seventh Heaven was a close winner in my heart because of the storyline. Here are quick reasons why I think Wings won over Seventh Heaven. It was male friendship centered versus romance centered, which I think was probably refreshing for people to watch in a way. I also think because it was a film following Americans, so I feel like a lot of people wanted to watch an American film. And finally, the cinematography definitely, hands down, helped Wings earn that winner spot. The aerial shots were very interesting. The dolly shot, compared to Seventh Heaven, who just had the basic shots, it was not as creative cinematically as Wings. Thank you guys if you have made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. Oh my god, filming this video took so much, for real. These microphones are terrible. I got them from Amazon 2 years ago. They were only like maybe $10 and it shows. If you have any recommendations for microphones that are less than $100, less than $50, less than $25, please let a broke girly know. Next week, we'll be watching The Broadway Melody, which I'm excited to see. In the meantime, feel free to join this challenge and share your thoughts about the Best Picture winner and nominees in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you guys so much. That's a wrap. Until next time. Bye!